Today I will be ranking all 2-star legendary gems inside of DIablo Immortal without wasting your time. This tier list will be my personal opinion and not the fact, but without wasting your time, let's dive into it. Starting with power and command, this gem is really good for likes of Demon Hunter who use or utilize primary and skill at the same time. But other than Demon Hunter, in most PvE content, you won't be using primary all that much, included PvP. So I will be putting the gem in B tier, even though it is a really good gem. But for most classes which doesn't use or utilize primary all that much in PvE or PvP, it won't give them all that much. Next we have the follower Burdon. If you are really wanting to build up a summon based build, then this gem will be good, but for most classes summon isn't that great, and so I will be putting the gem in B tier, because as I mentioned, summon based build isn't for every single class, so we are putting the gem in B tier. Next we have the Hunger. As you kill an enemy, it gives you some life and it has a 20-second cooldown. Not that great in PvE or PvP. HP potion is much better than this gem in PvE, and PvP this gem is strife by 70%, so not that great. I'll be putting it in the tier. Next we have the Bloody Reach. Other than range classes in PvP, this gem isn't that great nowadays in PvE. For most PvE content, every class, doesn't matter melee or range, they get close and personal with the monsters and try and kill them really quick, and not getting the most out of Bloody Reach range damage increase. And in PvP, even classes like the Demon Hunter and Necromancer, they try and get close with the enemy players to do damage. Only Wizard will able to get the most out of this gem with the support build, and so I am putting this gem in B tier. The damage is good, but the use of the gem isn't that great nowadays. Then we have the Battleguard. Battleguard is good. Anything in 3-yard radius, you take less damage. It can be really good for tank classes in PvP, but in PvP it's just not that great. You don't need more damage reduction. My apologies, I meant you don't need more damage reduction in PvE. Next we have the Unity Crystal. Your party members within 6 yards take less damage, and this gem just isn't that great for PvP or PvE, and I will be putting it in the D tier. Next we have the Cutthroat. I believe so. It gives you more critical hit chance if you are hitting monsters or players from behind. Not that great. You need to meet the condition to get the CC buff, otherwise it does not work. So having Mother Lament or Rolling Consequence is much better, but I will be putting the gem in C tier. Next we have the Lightning Core. As you move and use your primary attack, it will charge up the lightning attack and then deal some damage. Not that great. I will be putting the gem in the C tier. Next we have the Abiding Curse. This gem is actually pretty good. It can trigger every 20 seconds, reducing the movement speed and attack speed of the monsters or the player in PvP. And once the enemies are under the curse, they also take more damage, and we will be putting this in the A tier. Somewhat a good gem for support classes in PvP as well. Next we have the Volatility Shard, I believe so. Every 6 seconds, whenever enemies die, they explode. This is somewhat okay-ish in my opinion, not that great, and it also gave you a bit of damage increase after that. So I will be putting the gem in B tier. Nothing that special or that bad goes into B tier in my opinion. Then we have the Kir Sling. Hopefully I'm not butchering the name of the gem here, but it can blind the enemies as you hit them, putting total loss of control on them, and they will take more damage from you. It can only trigger every 20 seconds. A decent gem. Some would maybe put the gem in A tier, but personally I would put the gem in the B tier. And then we have the Pain Clasp. Really good gem if you can apply some sort of continuous damage effect on the monster or the player. It will work for you, increasing your movement speed and damage. And our first gem that goes into S tier in my opinion. Next we have the Ironbane. As you use the channeling skill and hit the enemy, it will dissolve the armor of the player or the enemy, reducing their movement speed and some attack speed, and also dealing a bit more damage. Not that great, and I will be putting the gem in C tier. Next we have Mother Lament. We'll be putting the gem in the S tier, increase their critical hit chance, and if the enemy is within 5-yard radius, it will hit them with the spike towards the end, putting a bleed on them. A really good gem, very powerful gem, and recommended for more free-to-play and even small spender. You cannot go wrong by having this gem. And our next gem is Fervent Fang, another really solid gem that can only be obtained from the battle pass itself. If you can get this gem to rank 10, it will give you 24% damage increase and additional 6% damage increase versus bosses and elites, making that 30% damage increase versus bosses and the elites, making this gem another S tier from the 2-star category. Next we have the Viper Bite. If you are not into dot setup, damage over time setup all that much, the damage of the gem itself isn't that great, and mostly player use the gem to put the dot or damage over time on plays or the enemy and leave them behind to die, like a Feeding Grace of the Fledgling for an additional hit. You can combine Everlasting with this and Seeping by Wolf Heart. It makes a really strong combo. But if you are not into damage over time, the damage of the gem itself isn't that great, and I might not be wrong to put the gem in the B tier. But if you are using a damage over time based build, then this gem is like S tier. But for most, I would say the gem is going to be A tier on its own. What it can provide you with some damage with the poison. Next we have the Igneous Scorn, a good gem that can blast the enemy as you hit them and also give you a bit of damage increase. We'll be putting this gem A tier alongside with Viper Bite. Works pretty good for most classes in PvE and PvP. And moving on to the next gem, that is going to be Grim Rhythm, another gem that you can get only from the battle pass. You have an option, either get the Fervent Fang or the Grim Rhythm, and by all means I would say go for the Fervent Fang, but this gem is pretty good as well, increasing some attack speed for you, and we'll be putting the gem in the A tier. Next we have the Tear of the Comet, I believe so. Really bad gem in my opinion, as you use the channeling skill. It attack the enemy with the Arcane Torrent type missile and make your channeling skill do a bit more damage. So I will be putting the gem in the D tier. Then we have Mossthorn. If you take damage, it deals some damage to the enemy. Not that great unless you are a barbarian and using Undying Rage. Only then it will be useful. For every other class, if you take damage and try and do damage back to the enemy, it's just not that great, and I'll be putting the gem in the D tier. And next we have the Cold Confident, a decent gem for support classes wanting to put some chill on plays in PvP, but PvE it's just not that great, and I'll be putting the gem in B tier. And at the end we have our latest gem, Mourneskull. It goes into S tier, giving you the most burst damage out of any other gem, but it has a 20-second cooldown. But the burst damage that this gem provides, no other gem has that. And this is how my 2-star tier list looks. You can let me know in the comment section down below how would you rate some of these gems differently. And again, this is just my opinion and not a fact, and for different player out there using different builds, some of the gems will work very differently. So I'm signing off. See you all in the next one. You guys have a great day. Later.